Welcome back to another edition of Tech in the City. My name is Yvonne Pilon, your host. Tech in the City is a regular video podcast segment where we talk the latest gadgets, tech, and really what has the world and our local community buzzing about technology. We're here kind of in our holiday gear. I'm going to have kind of a holiday tech theme today. My guest today is Rob Whent. He is known as Gadget Guy, as well as a serial tech entrepreneur. So, Rob, welcome to Tech in the City.
Well, thank you, Yvonne. I would have worn my sweater. I have the exact one, so that way we should have coordinated
That's why I picked this. I was like, you have this sweater.
We could have coordinated that a little better.
So you really are a gadget guy. I mean, I'm just looking around. We've got lots of things to talk about today. You've got your Apple Watch. Tell us more about Rob Whent.
So Windsor guy, graduated University of Windsor, electrical engineering. So I've always been interested in technology. That's always been something that's really driven me from, very early on. My dad was an engineer for Bell, and I used to take apart telephones. I used to make things out of old broken stuff all the time. So tech has always been something that's really excited me. So, that being said, that helped me sort of focus in university on electronic engineering. And then when I left that's when I started my own company, McGill Digital, that concentrated initially on video games using a platform called Compact Disc Interactive. This is back in the early 90s with full motion video and some of the interesting games that you've seen out there. The most recent one that I thought was funny is we did the follow-up to Dragon's Lair, and Dragon's Lair was just featured, I think, in the opening credits for Stranger Things. I think they were actually battling it out at one of the kiosks, so that made me laugh. But technology has always been something that's been near and dear to my heart. And I brought a couple of things to remind everybody. And
oh boy,
about
Zach
technology.
Morris is calling. Hold on.
So I'm going to be talking about the new iPhone 10 today. But I thought it was interesting to bring the original portable phone.
For those of you listening, Rob is holding what we would call, I guess, the brick phone, the really early days of the cellular telephone.
It
probably weighs about how many pounds?
A Motorola brick that you could poke your eye out with if you did it wrong. So that was always one of the problems with this particular phone, is poking your eye out when you answered it. So a little bit of safety concern there, but it really started to pave the way for how we interact wirelessly with our surroundings.
And what I always bring out when you look at that phone is, and again with WeTech about technology innovation, is we didn't just start with an iPhone 10, right? We started with these large scale phones, and
Absolutely.
it really took innovators and entrepreneurs to get to that next generation.
Yeah.
So we're so excited again for you to be here, and I know you splurged on the iPhone 10, which was revealed, I guess, in September at Apple's big launch. So give us the deets. Like, what is it? Good, bad, ugly? And we know it's expensive.
So I'll tell you a little story first. Being the tech guy, BlackBerry was my first real smartphone back in the day. Continued to be excited about the evolution of smartphones. Tried them all out. I continue to try them all out. A real passion for trying new technology and figuring out how it all works. So, BlackBerry was everybody's success story early on. I was still betting on BlackBerry when the iPhone was launched. I'd never really been part of the Apple ecosystem. It just really wasn't where my tech head was at. So when the iPhone came out, I was more interested in Android and continued to sort of be an Android guy for a long, long time, and still consider myself to be an Android guy. But you can't argue the quality of Apple products. They just build good products that work. Part of what drove me to the Apple platform a couple years ago was developing cross-platform application called WeCam that was a video chat app that could talk between iPhones and Android. Right, so I had to really look at both platforms from a macro level to understand, the ecosystems for both. That's a little geeky, I understand. But there's so many flavors of Android and so many versions and so many different devices that developing for that platform.
And it would be great if they talk to each other, because I know there's so many apps that are available only for Apple or only for Android. And poor BlackBerry, I mean, they really moved, so there's very little apps, for BlackBerry. So.
Yeah, and like anything in my background, being a tech guy, I place bets on a lot of technology, and I've been wrong probably more often than I've been right. So I bet in. I don't know if you guys remember HD DVD, which was Microsoft's version of Blu-ray. I was a big Blu-ray supporter, and I still have the discs if you want to buy them off me. Digital audio tape. I've got and from our Gadget Guy
Or
contest,
cemetery, yeah.
I've got more devices that don't work anymore that were state of the art in the day. So through my journey with smartphones, I really got to look at the whole ecosystem for them. And being a guy that was developing applications for both platforms, I got to appreciate the Apple ecosystem because it works really well.
Yeah.
Developers tend to like Android because you can do a lot of things to it, but that's also a downside when you're testing applications that are developed for both platforms. So I got my first iPhone back in 2014. It was the iPhone 6. And I was impressed. It was a big leap forward in technology. It replaced my Samsung Galaxy 5, I guess, at the time, that I was in love with. And I was in California at the time. So it was almost like I had to get an iPhone being in San Francisco. I bought it at the Apple Store. I got to be part of that whole crazy world of lining up to get a phone. It was pretty surreal. And again, I've never been a big Apple guru or a big Apple fan because I'd like to be able to play MP3 songs that I downloaded and Apple's that closed ecosystem.
Yep.
But it works really well. So I got my first iPhone 6 and, enjoyed it and worked with it and understood kind of everything that I could do with it. Then the 7 came out, which was really just like the 6. And then, of course, the 8 came out or was coming out. And it's just like the 7, which is just like the 6. So I've been kind of sitting there looking at Apple technology thinking, oh boy, what are they going to do that's going to be different? There's been lots of discussions about the Apple ecosystem after Steve Jobs, and all we've really seen are updates. We've not really seen a major leap in technology since the iPhone came out, really. It's all been just, evolutionary. So I was really excited when I knew about the iPhone 10. But I identified some initial issues right out of the gate. So I don't know if you've read the bio on Steve Jobs.
I mean, I know a little bit about it.
It's pretty fascinating, to understand his design mantra and how he was involved in every last little bit of iPhone development, right? Like obsessively, which drove his great products. So there's a few things that, Steve never wanted to have a big iPhone. So when the iPhone 6 came out, there was a lot of discussion around he's rolling over in his grave because now this iPhone is this big thing.
Yeah.
So there's a few things like that with the iPhone 10 that I think would absolutely drive Steve Jobs crazy. The first one being the name. All right, so it's
because people kept saying, is it iPhone X or iPhone 10?
What happened to the 9? Where's the 9?
Just skipped that.
Did 7, 8, 9? I don't know. It's missing. So from Apple's world of simplicity, it's confusing right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And I can't emphasize that enough from an Apple standpoint that they're losing their way a little bit with their brand loyalty and their branding. Because what is it? They're trying to sell an 8, but there's an X and it might be a 10, and we don't really know. However, the actual product ends up being amazing.
And it's a beautiful phone.
It's a real piece of art, good and bad. It's glass everywhere.
So there's been a lot of talk about being fragile and breaking. What do you think?
I've dropped it a few times.
And
I broke the little protective shield that I put on it already once. If you're going to get a phone, make sure you get those protective little pieces, that are the glass things that go on there, because I break those all the time and it saves your phone. But now I need one on the back too. So it's glass on both sides because the back now it's wirelessly chargeable.
Which is one of the things I love.
Which is one of the things that we all love.
Always forget my cord.
Yeah. So that's why you have a glass back, and that's why Samsungs have glass back. Anybody that's wirelessly charging has glass.
Yeah.
But I still think fundamentally it's a flawed idea to put glass on both sides of something that you hold in your hand. But it definitely feels nice. It's got perfect fit and finish. In this case, it's black, but it's got a stainless steel rim around it. Feel that.
What I love about the 10 is I have got the 7 Plus, and I found it just too big.
Yes.
I didn't want to do the 7. I wanted to do the Plus because the camera's obviously a lot better. But this, when they took out kind of the little touchscreen button, it opens it up to a really nice feel in your hand.
And that's what I like too. It definitely feels better in your hand.
And
It's the right size. It's a beautiful display. What I really like is the face unlock.
Yeah.
It's really part of the new technology that Apple has in this phone. Samsung has it as well. But it works really, really well. And for a guy that typically has hundreds of passwords that I hate trying to remember, and I have password lockers and password keepers, but I forget the password of the password keeper.
Yeah.
I love being able to just pick it up, look at it, and it lets me in. Lets me use Apple Wallet for it, for making transactions. Keeps my emails secure. Again, it's really well integrated into the platform. The whole idea of them being able to sort of map out your face with the dots that they're presenting opens up a really interesting world for developers that want to use that technology.
Yeah, well, we heard about it in the medical that being able to do a scan of your face and your retinal or whatever and sending it to your doctor, for example, right? So there's so much opportunity there.
Yeah. So I mean, from a screen standpoint, it's phenomenal. The other sort of Steve Jobs rolling around in his grave thing definitely is the notch at the top of the screen. So there's lots of conversations around what's being called Notchgate. So yeah, you've got a bezel-less. You have a bezel-less solution, right? So it's all screen except for the little cutout at the top that's known as the notch.
The notch. Okay.
I've been working with the phone for 2 weeks now. It was really distracting at first. It's not as distracting today. It still kind of gets on my nerves. But the phone works so well, I've sort of said, okay, it doesn't bother me that much. The thing that did bother me that much was the fact that this phone in Canada with Apple Care was almost $1,700. And that, to me, is way too much money for a smartphone. I don't know how to justify it other than it's really cool and I want it. But
so on that, is it worth the money? Is
it all
worth
depends
it?
on what you're doing with it.
Right. So when is it worth the money and when is it not?
Okay. Well, if you're a gadget guy, it's worth the money. Number one. So if you're the guy that likes gadgets, you got to get this phone.
There'll be an iPhone 10 for sale on Kijiji later.
If your world is data and revolves around connectivity, the 8 is pretty good too. I mean, I haven't seen the 8. It's the same technology.
That's what I'm looking at right now. I just go one up?
My 6 Plus was getting slow. It was slow to react for camera stuff. This thing works like crazy. It's just everything is instant. Everything is crystal clear. The camera, it's got the dual, portrait dual camera thing, which
beautiful.
Is crazy. So if your business is really communications, then this is your business tool.
Yeah.
Like this isn't a phone anymore.
No, it's
not even
computer.
A smartphone anymore. This is your life. Like this is how you communicate. Yeah. This also has the edge over, the 6, 7, 8 platform, as well as I believe most of the Galaxy products. It really is packed with new technology that they haven't even talked about yet.
What's that? I mean, I'm obviously social media emoji junkie. There is a really fun, what do they call it? The new emojis where you can actually record your voice and it will transform your face into a robot
what do they call it? They call it something.
There's a name for it, but it's really, I remember seeing that when I did. So what other things have changed from this phone, from like the 8 or the 7? Obviously, you've got no center home.
Yeah, the biometrics is gone, so there's no more.
It's all facial recognition.
It's all facial recognition. It works for me. It works. I would say 80% of the time. The other 20% of the time that it doesn't work, I use my passcode just like I normally would, right? So it's not like it didn't work and I'm locked out. It's like it didn't work and I have to put in my code and my PIN number now. It does take getting used to. There are certain things that you don't think about that become some issues. Like if it's over here, you can't see it. It doesn't see you. So there's some weird things that just come in how you use it every day, right?
I remember when I got my 7, they took out the port for the earplugs and they just added it.
Yeah.
That still gets me. I get on the plane and I realize I have my old earphones and I can't listen, or I have my new ones and I can't listen to plug myself into it.
Well, and Apple's they've always done that, right?
No.
They've always loved to make technology obsolete.
No.
So two of the other sort of things that operationally become different with this is we've been used to with iPhones being able to swipe up to get our notifications and to also get our control center stuff. That doesn't happen anymore. So now they've stuck them in the rabbit ears up top. So if I want to get my notifications, I've got to be able to get up to that top ear to pull down.
Okay.
That's a long way away. I got big fingers.
Is there good tutorials for this? I feel like if I got this phone, there's a lot of learning.
YouTube's filled with them. The other usability, now and again, it still has that same sort of bringing the screen down usability thing. But the other one's up here, where if you want to get to your control center, I use the calculator all the time because I can't do math. So I'm forced to.
You're an engineer that can't do math?
I have a calculator and an iPhone 10.
That's going to bring up a great topic for later.
Okay, you note that down. So anyway, those are sort of two operational things that are a little weird. The notch is a little hard to get used to. Facial recognition works amazingly. Integration with the Apple Watch is fantastic. Apple Pay works every time.
And I think that's how Apple gets you, right? You get one product and you know it's going to sync. So I've got my Apple TV, I've got my Mac, I've got my everything just syncs together. So it's so hard to go to the PC once you've kind of started on the Mac journey.
There's certainly that, and it's going to be very, very, very interesting to me. I mean, again, I mentioned earlier, I've always been, all my computers are PCs. My phones and tablets are all Apple. And you're starting to even see now, Apple positioning the iPad as a computer, which is going to be interesting to see when they finally get rid of Macs and their laptops. Have you seen the new commercials with a little kid?
No, I haven't.
And the mother says, "Is that your laptop?" And she's like, "I don't know what a laptop is. This is my iPad." Right?
No, it's crazy how powerful phones have become.
Well, and for me, being a gadget guy, I've been waiting for devices like this. It's still not there yet in my world. I want a projector in here. I want it to be able to pop up a screen. I don't want to have a screen.
Yeah, like Mission Impossible
So
style.
it's getting there. It's pretty exciting. And if you're an Apple guy, this is the phone you need.
This is why I adore being friends with you, because you always buy when it's early adopter, it's always usually more expensive. So I just wait a little bit. Thank you for your update on the iPhone 10, and I did want to talk. We've got obviously a few more things to talk about today, but I'm curious to see. There's now with phones, there's tons of apps. So do you have any favorite apps that you those must-have apps on your phone?
Yeah, Bitmoji is probably is really
some for personal, some for business.
Really, that could be for business too. I've kind of used it for that. But Bitmoji's kind of fun. I think one of the biggest changes has been Microsoft for the app world, allowing the Microsoft Office suite to be used on Android devices and on iPhone devices. That's huge. So from a business standpoint, if you don't have the Microsoft Office suite of apps, you need them. I make presentations using my phone. I plug in HDMI connector, and I run everything from my phone now. So I don't worry about what kind of technology is in somewhere that I have to go. I bring my own, and it's in my phone.
And I'm just remembered a question about the iPhone 10 battery life. How is it?
It's interesting.
Because I always said is always the worst thing is I'm charging my phone 3 times a day.
Yeah, my initial testing had been phenomenal. So initially, it would, same thing. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my phone's dying. It's dead somewhere, and I got to plug it in. The iPhone 10 so far has exceeded my expectations from that standpoint, where I haven't had to plug it in during the day at all, or even the evening. That being said, I had a bad experience yesterday with it when I was taking a whole bunch of photos at a conference in Chatham, and it started at 7, but by 10:30 the phone was dead.
Yeah.
So batteries are still the bane of everyone's existence when it comes to electronics and electronic devices. They're still pain. But I think it's better.
I'm skipping, but back to the app side. Is there any other apps that you're kind of your must-haves?
I could probably look at my phone and tell you, but no, I think from a business standpoint, certainly the productivity tools, and from a personal standpoint, Bitmoji.
No, one of my faves is faxing and photocopying are kind of a thing of the past. So we have Genius Scan. So it allows you to scan your documents and PDFs them all into one document. Amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm trying to think I love, again, being a user of social media, Canva, which is an amazing free tool. So there's amazing lots of stuff. But we're obviously here for a holiday kind of tech gift. So I'm curious to hear what Gadget Guy has on his kind of top tech gifts to give this holiday season.
Sure. So it's a great season for tech gifts.
Yeah.
One of the, for me personally, holidays have always been video games.
Yep.
And new consoles come out, and new devices come out. And I'm talking back to the original Atari 2600 that I used to rewire and resell after buying them out of the junk bin at Sears. So holidays are always a good time to talk about new consoles and video games. In the past little while, video game consoles are starting to be a little redundant. Your PCs can do what they do. Nobody's really got to ship something on a DVD or a Blu-ray disc anymore. So this whole idea of you having your Xbox One or your PlayStation 4 is I think it's kind of on its last legs, and only from a distribution standpoint. Again, I don't have to go and buy a CD or a DVD game anymore. I can use my PS4 and I can download right to it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about PlayStation 4, and only because I brought it.
Well, of course you did.
So I've been all platforms for video games. As I mentioned, we used to develop for the platform. So I'm a pretty harsh critic on video games and video game platforms. And there was sort of, combine that with the vision and the future for virtual reality. And I've been very interested to follow the big consoles on what they're doing on the VR front. At the Tech Week that happened a couple weeks ago, you had Sony there demoing the PlayStation, and I was lamenting to them my issues with their VR headset. And one of the things that I really wanted to be able to do was to use the VR headset from PlayStation to do the whole game. So if a game wasn't, so the idea right now with PlayStation is I've got a TV, I got my PlayStation, and I have a game. I put the game in, it plays on the TV, or I can put the VR headset on and I can play VR games. But I wanted to do it all through the headset. And this is what Sony came out with this Christmas with their new bundle with the Gran Turismo VR package.
So this is what you brought here today?
This is what I brought today.
And what does this, just out of curiosity, retail for?
$4.99 for this add-on to your existing PlayStation.
Okay.
Okay,
oh
so
boy.
it's expensive. I mean, they still haven't dropped these down into the $100 mark yet. But this new one that's out this season allows you to play VR games and regular PlayStation games using the headset, which you couldn't do before. And for me, that was that's a huge step forward. So everything can be done with this goofy little headset on now. You don't need a TV. You can play all the games.
So worth the money?
Well.
Uh-oh.
Well.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, so the first game, and here's the old PlayStation 4. This is $4.99. And this one came with the new Star Wars Battlefront 2 game.
Okay.
Which is a lot of fun for people that are into Star Wars and into PlayStation. So VR, this is one of the leading VR games for PlayStation 4. Resident Evil, which is a...
yeah, see, I like Mario Kart. I like the easy
yeah,
stuff.
well, I'll tell you, my hair was black before I started playing this. It's gone white because I was so scared. It literally scared the pants off me. I was wearing this thing, and it really brings you into the game in a new way. And if you haven't played, an interactive virtual reality game, and you like gaming, you're missing out, because it's an experience that you'll never have right now anyway, anywhere else. This one works as good as could be expected. Actually, a little bit better than I expected. It's a pretty heavy-duty headset, but I still found myself talking into the corner and looking down and walking around and getting a little disoriented. But I found that if you do it in short stints at first, you kind of get used to it. So yeah, I think for people that are into gaming, this for Christmas is the tech gift to get.
Is there any other tech gifts that you suggest getting? Drones are big. I know I just got 2 gifts. I love to give tech gifts, especially to younger, which I want to ask you a question on that. But I think it's called the Seedling Parker Bear.
Okay.
And it's basically a teddy bear that, you download an app and you can scan the bear and you can kind of draw the surroundings of the bear. And then I've got a virtual reality set with Jurassic Park.
Right,
and there's so much. I mean, artificial
really
intelligence toys are
Sure.
huge. They're everywhere, right? But I think with that, it comes the question I want to ask you, because I know you have a lot of expertise in kind of the e-gaming, e-learning, kind of with a lot of your other previous companies. But, we're so immersed in tech today. I'll take my nephews, for example. They're very bright individuals, but when you go, you visit them, they all have got their tablets and their heads are down. And I always say, what advice do you have, on this digital dependency where, how do you balance kids, learning tech? 'Cause it's so important. We know it's the future of jobs and really the future, but then also, being able to talk to a human. What are your thoughts?
You hear a lot of noise about this, and I don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks. When my son was young, I stuck him in front of the TV, and his head wasn't down; it was looking at the TV, right? So as long as parents, are monitoring kind of how the kids are interacting with this thing, it's the new way. It's the new TV. So digital is the new TV, and interactive is the new TV. Our kids are growing up now, knowing, that why wouldn't I touch it? Like, when we were growing up, we were told, don't touch the TV. Kids now are touching TVs all the time, right? So there's a couple of things. I think one, it's kind of overblown, only because they're not watching TV like they used to. And the stuff that they are watching is so much more productive for them. Mm-hmm. So imagine when I grew up, I used to watch Bugs Bunny hitting the Roadrunner over the head with a hammer every day. And I'd sit there like a vegetable watching it. Well, now the kids can actually, on an app platform, watch something like that, interact with the characters, ask them questions, learn how to say it in French. It's a whole new world. So I think the psychological effects that people are worrying about too much screen time, it's replacing other screen time.
Yeah.
Not that you still have to monitor it. You still have to. That's why I love in the States the FiOS app where you can mom can turn the Wi-Fi off in the house. I don't know why we don't all have that, right? So I really think that the benefits of screen time today, interactive screen time, far outweigh the way we grew up with TV, and opens up a whole new possibility for kids. And you're seeing it now with these kids that are digital natives, that are born and looking at these devices. Now, I also like games that include augmented reality. So Pokemon Go might not have been a great example of what you want your kid to do, running around in the street.
Yeah.
But that concept of being able to merge reality with augmentation is pretty fantastic.
So they've, again, just looking at some of the gift, I've been searching, the best tech gifts, and some of them are books, right, where you now can read a book to your child using your iPad, like have the book with the iPad over it, and now the story comes to life.
And that's fantastic.
And they've got, coloring. Actually, a lot of it's free. You can actually download free coloring sheets. You download the free app, and now, again, you can scan over your child's drawing, and it comes up to life.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty fantastic.
There's
so many tools.
There is, and what I always kind of fear is, what happens to, the youth that can't afford these tech gifts? And it is the future, but yet they don't have the resources. Right. And that's where I think, I know here locally, we've got a great library that kind of has the tech, is kind of building out their tech toolbox. And but how do kids get to experience this if they don't have the disposable income?
Well, I think this is a bigger conversation, obviously, around education and communities and the changing use of things. Like libraries are a perfect place for communities to get together, and kids don't want to read the books, but they want to interact with the technology. Yeah. Schools need to be able to integrate it. Yeah. Schools really are the fundamental place where all of this needs to start. So we need to figure out how to eliminate or reduce textbook spending and increase tablet or PC or laptop.
And you're seeing that. I mean,
Chromebook.
there's certain schools now, like all the kids get tablets. But then again, really just giving a tablet doesn't mean that, it's necessarily innovative.
Absolutely.
It's how you interact and use that tablet. So
well, and for I can't say who I got. Well, I got a Christmas present for people this year. Anyway, it's a small tablet for little kids.
Okay.
It's available on Amazon. It's in a pink sort of spongy thing, so they can drop it and throw it at each other.
Yeah.
Got a big handle on it.
Okay, it's like a purse.
And it comes. It is, and it comes loaded with kid apps. And one of the apps is called the Human Zoo, and it was $70 on Amazon.
I just downloaded an app, the Udemy app, that allows me to learn to code on my lunch break, which is pretty awesome. There's so much amazing stuff out there, but I know we're wrapping up here. We're here talking about tech gifts and holiday gifts, and I do want to share something that we do at WEtech. It's not just tech stuff, but we are all about local, and we push out, it's called the YQG Gift Guide, and we pushed it out just today, and it'll be up and live on our website at www.WeTech-Alliance and on our social media, and it really gives you a great list of awesome local stuff, including some great gift boxes. I know yesterday I was part of a kickoff of a very cool innovative soap company that basically developed a beautiful package with 12 different companies' soaps using their products in this beautiful whiskey barrel. And there's some great other, Love Your City, Sarah Bray, who also does a podcast here at WePodcast. So I really encourage everyone to buy local as much as possible this holiday season. Obviously, we're here at WePodcast. I think this would be another great holiday gift idea, is for I think $23.99, if I'm not mistaken, an annual subscription to listen to local content. I know Kelcom Wireless is selling the Google Home Minis for $39.99.
Lots of good tech stuff.
Great. There's also another one, Float Lakeshore. It's these new floating, basically you spend 60 minutes floating in these kind of like womb-like things. I guess it's supposed to be really good for relaxation. It's supposed to imitate what it was like the womb. No, it's really, I really want to try it. I think it's going to be really amazing.
And where do you do that? Is there a view?
No, it's like it's like a big pod, and you just float there, and it closes on you, I guess, and it's supposed to be really relaxing.
Nice.
I've not done it, so it's on my Christmas
list. Let me know how that works out for you.
And then if you think about the holidays, again, local music, you can listen to Christmas music just with WePodcast. And again, we all get sick over Christmas. It happens. So there's some great local apps we can use, like Clinic Seeker, to help you find not only the closest pharmacy or the closest clinic, but also their hours and their wait times. Served mobile app actually just launched nationally. They're a local app company that basically has indexed all menus for restaurants. So if you're looking to take out, download the Served app. Amazing thing. So I guess if I were to summarize this is visit the YQG gift guide. Tourism Windsor Essex has also pushed out another local gift guide as well as the Small Business Center. So there should be no excuse that there is not YQG under your holiday tree this season. So Rob, I want to thank you for bringing all these old and new goodies.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for everything that you do here locally. You've been such a great asset to our tech community and have really, he was a former WEtech employee.
I was.
We're still trying to lure him back. So I guess this concludes our second Tech in the City with WePodcast. So again, thank you to Rob Whent and happy holidays, and we'll see you in the new year.
Feliz Navidad.